Welcome to Fireside Gaming. I'm Billum, and this time around we are diving into Super Mario 64, a game that I have a lot of fond memories with, and I'm still making many more as my son loved watching me play through this game. And I'm going to hit you with a little bit of a sappy dad story before we really get into the meat of this review. At the time of recording this footage, my son was about to turn 3 and he wasn't a talker. Truthfully, he still isn't, but he's made a lot of progress and we're finally getting sentences, which is a huge achievement and it makes me super happy. And one big step forward for my son was watching me play Mario 64. My son has watched me play plenty of games growing up, kind of a given considering I run a retro game channel, but none held his attention like Mario 64 did. And to the surprise of my wife and I, he even started mimicking the game. That might not seem like a big deal, but my son showed no interest in mimicking just about any words at this point. So to hear him say, "let's-a go" when entering levels or "here we go" when getting a star was a huge shock to both of us. His love of Mario has grown since then, and it's been a great way to keep him interested while learning new words. We've watched and played plenty of other Mario games and shows around him, including the old Super Mario Bros. Super Show, and I am currently playing through Brothership, and he loves all of it. He loves to run around and jump with Mario, shouting his phrases, and he can tell you all of the characters' names. Well, the major ones at least. He even knows who Daisy is, and hers is probably the name that he pronounces the best, showing that he already has good taste at such a young age. But I'll call it there so I don't turn this into a video gushing about my son. I'm just an excited dad that wanted to share these new experiences I'm having with my boy as we make memories together. Talking about Super Mario 64, it's a game that I have a long history with. Now, I didn't play it when it came out exactly, as my family waited a few years to pick up a Nintendo 64. And that was pretty par for the course whenever we got consoles. We were always a few years behind, but that never bothered me as a kid. Maybe that's what turned me into a patient gamer that doesn't mind playing new games months or years after their release. The N64 my family got as a kid was actually the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer version that included the game. And as I mentioned in my review of Episode 1 Racer, it's just a normal N64. No special decals or collars, nothing, which is kinda disappointing in hindsight, but it's whatever. We got this for Christmas alongside several games for the console, one of which was Super Mario 64. Mario 64 was my first foray into 3D, much like it was for many other people growing up in this era. But what surprises me the most about it is how well it holds up after all these years. Controlling Mario is incredibly intuitive, and it set the standard for 3D platformers to follow. This game also introduced players to what would become Mario's core moveset. The iconic triple jump, backflip, and long jump all made their debuts in this game. If there's one thing that I hear a lot of people complain about when going back to Super Mario 64, or even playing it for the first time, it's camera controls. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not claiming that the C buttons are as smooth and simple as a second analog stick. I also get that people hate its predetermined positions and angles, but it still works well today. Granted, I am a lover of old Armored Core and Resident Evil games, so wonky cameras are the least of my worries, and I've probably built up some resistance to them. And while Nintendo has been a lot more flashy with its levels of late, the basics continue to rely off of what was established in Super Mario 64. Though I will admit that the game has much more vertical levels than I remember. For this run, I actually skipped most of the basement levels and didn't come back to them until after beating the game. I also collected a lot more stars than I normally would, eventually closing my playthrough at 113, just a few shy of the coveted 120 that you need to see Yoshi at the top of Peach's castle. That's actually something I've never done, largely due to my dislike of Tick-Tock Clock and Rainbow Ride. Tick-Tock Clock is okay, and I didn't hate it as much this time around, but I've still got no love for Rainbow Ride. I did find myself greatly enjoying the courses on the second floor of the castle this time around, which I usually don't play as much because I've got enough stars built up from the first floor and basement. And that's a mistake because Tall Tall Mountain and Wet Dry World became some of my favorite levels after this run. Though I did find that I am not much of a fan of Tiny Huge Island. It's not Rainbow Ride levels of annoyance, but I just didn't care for its size-changing level gimmick. It wasn't for me. I always forget just how much level variety Mario 64 has until I go back and play it again. Levels like Shifting Sandland and Lethal Lava Land don't immediately come to mind whenever I think of the game, but they mix up the levels with unique environments and mechanics not found elsewhere, and I can appreciate them for that. I also love the additions of the wing, metal, and vanish caps, and for the life of me, I don't understand why they've never shown up in a Mario game since. Sure, Wonder gave us one level with a metal form, but it feels like a missed opportunity that these haven't become staple items of the series in the same way that fire flowers and the Tanuki suits have. We're pretty far into this review, and I haven't said a thing about the story of Mario 64. And that's because it's pretty stock standard. Even more so than Super Mario World was. We're not getting any Koopalings or anything else like that, no flying across different countries like in Mario 3, it's just Peach's Castle, paintings, stars. I think Nintendo was just much more focused on the switch from 2D to 3D with this game and decided to stay safe with a basic Mario story. And there's nothing wrong with that. Rarely am I absorbed in the story of a Mario game outside of the RPGs, as the gameplay is really what I'm here for. Moving to visuals, Mario 64 continues to look good today, if not a bit simple. However, it ages well due to Nintendo's preference for basic colors as textures rather than trying to do anything complex. It allows the game to be played on modern TVs without suffering in the same way as many more graphically impressive and arguably better looking games from this era do whenever they're played on a new TV as compared to a CRT. And of course, I have to give some love to the Mario 64 soundtrack. I'm sure it comes as no surprise that I would praise it, as it offers some of the most memorable tunes in the series. The music introduced in this game is as iconic and catchy as the main Super Mario Bros. Theme. Bomb Bomb Battlefield, Dire Dire Docks, and Inside the Castle Walls are among my favorite themes in the game, while Hazy Maze and others offer great remixes of classic songs. Overall, Super Mario 64 continues to be loads of fun, even almost 3 decades after its original release. I'm glad I went back and played it again, especially as it granted me some amazing new memories with my son, and I can easily recommend it to 3D platformer fans who haven't experienced it yet. I'm not doing a score or anything this time around, as I've been avoiding these for Mario games. I just don't feel the need to assign them a number between 1 and 10. What I will say is thanks for sticking around and watching this video through. And please forgive me for the long break. The holidays, a new job, and some other changes in my household has kept me away from video making for longer than I wanted. But I'm hoping that getting this video done is a sign that I am back in the saddle. So until next time, which I hope won't be too long, take it easy.